Alrighty, I'm just gonna scare you by saying already, very late after I started the recording. It is 2:32 in the morning. I've had several snacks of high sugar content, and that's not good, obviously. But we're gonna talk about the very thing that this is called, which is upgrading old satellite tech. It's like, I'd like to see you try. Meanwhile, well, I have the hacking satellite community video that basically goes over several different versions of this. So I'll let you know that effectively I was watching Scott Manley's first global satellite constellations, and I'm like, well, that explains why my phone was constantly hacked by people from satellite individuals. Because it was like, well, I mean, they had an Android that if you didn't have it, you could still use the SOS feature. It's like, oh, yeah, you could absolutely hack into someone's phone and constantly listen to them from anywhere in the world using satellite fucking, phone technology. So there's that. You know, but it's like, why would they do that? Meanwhile, I'm like, why does the government watch everybody all the time, anyways? Why do billionaires need to constantly make more money? I don't know. Go away. Why doesn't a person that wants to hack a satellite ultimately want to do it in the first place? Would they want to just observe someone, see if they did it right, and then would they stick around? They find someone interesting. I'm gonna move on. Point is, there isn't really a need. The incentive is curiosity most of the time. Then this one's in something else, but it's like there's root access. You can just observe from your ISP directly into the router if you ultimately want to, and they don't even know that they're watching you. And it's like most ISP routers have that protocol, and they haven't changed the vast majority of passwords and encryption and more for that in a really long time. It's pretty easy for people to do it. So there's that. I thought we were talking about upgrading satellite. I just want to let you know why it is that there is multiple backdoor internets on old satellites. Like onion networks, effectively, on old ass satellites that they don't pay for and are insanely fast. Not slow, fast. So, if you know what a phasor array is, uh, that's good, but I'm going to describe it really quickly to you. Take a line of antennas and then crisscross them, and then you're going to pulse them on and off at the right intervals, and then if you know where something is, you effectively link something up using phasing of these waves that collapse and then become stronger in a given area that it's pointing towards. That's really all a phasor array is, right? But shockingly, all Wi-Fi and more effectively is that, but with different pulses and frequency. I just talked about my neutron thing, and I went over how I view electrons moving for electricity, and it basically goes over why it is I don't understand why they think about volts, amps, current stuff the way they do. And maybe that'll help you on this, but effectively, it's like it is a bunch of field pressure waves that they view as decibel. which effectively means it's like, well, the tuning fork went burr harder because there's more luminosity of the pressure wave hardified in this given like little area, and then jolty jolt electron juice came out, and it was more than before, and so now more decibel. It's literally what that is, by the way. Yeah, no, they're tuning forks. They're a material tuning fork. It goes zzz the right way, and then this frequency matches, and it goes zzz the right way, and there's some loss over distance. So it turns out if you use a phasing array the right way, and then you pulse it like a spike wave, and you can do that many times. So it's like you're going to send it to whatever that is, and you're going to track it. And then you're going to spike wave it with the given information, which the information inside that wave is effectively like, think of a fart, right? Well, fart is a sound, but the smell is what you want to know. Okay? Which you might not understand that. So I'll give it to you layman's lame engineering physics guy ways of talking about it, which is this is an explosion, and then a secondary explosion happened after this explosion initially created a cavitation, and then it went zzz, zzz, zzz inside of it because it went bung, boom, bing, bong, boom. And then that meant you now have blah 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 for your stupid what's it binary. Now, if you know what that means the tuning fork goes dung, 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 like that while it's being moved. That translates to a noise factor in the decibel. Decibel is signal strength, noise factor is information. Okay, so now you know how satellites work. And that's how Wi-Fi works, and transfer of information wirelessly generally works, okay? Now, why they're shit at it, I don't know. But we're talking about upgrading it. What they had in the past for how their tuning forks worked was good, but they didn't know about acoustic resonance, interference profiles, and many more things that we now know about. So, as you go and aim it ahead of time, and you effectively spike wave it with several of these different going to collapses and interference at the right spike wave timed point, then you can use more pulses in a shorter duration with higher amounts of packet binary amounts. Effectively, bandwidth went up, signal strength went up, more pulsy walsies, faster-fied, go burry were stronger, more binary go burr. So bandwidth get big. Speed, because bent analog at 30 means if you know what the change is for the bent rods, then you know how to alter that to improve the given type of signal that you receive for an increased amount of bandwidth in binary delivered. If you know anything about compression, and you already have an algorithm for sent packets, like my ECIB internet packets on my YouTube channel, then you also know that you can compress that, have a given type of program on the other side that hashes it out, which isn't really a hash out, but I keep using the word. So it's like whatever. But it's effectively that. It's like this is bare minimum, that is bare minimum, that has a key. You're going to send out given type of minimum information. But in fact, because you know the conversion type style, then it's the same equivalent of I have this hydrogen and oxygen and I want water at the end. So if I combine it here and then burn it there, I then produce what is effectively water there. But I also make energy to get it delivered faster. And if I let it go through a little bit of work to dissipate some of that energy, I then get it faster, but I also suck more hydrogen and oxygen in. Now, all of that's a metaphor symbolic to, so this changes this one whatever gigahertz to 2030. And it's like, right, but there's a lot of spacing interval pulses. And if you spike wave it and then effectively know how to phasor array based upon multiple inputs, you then have the ability to increase bandwidth tremendously and spot effectively angle it down to very insanely high degrees of accuracy. We're talking a literal single, like Starlink is doing, little tiny plate. The size of your head, effectively. Now, if you happen to know a given type of residual, this one is wonderful. Electromagnetic radiation interference. And EMI interference in a given area, which is a few antennas and a few collection areas around to essentially try and denoise a little bit above and, down to where you want to collect it. You, along with a little bit of laser light and a little bit of that phasing antenna, have the ability to create a very denoised environment that sends that signal to an exactingly high precise, high bandwidth, high speed point of collection. That is gigabytes for these old type of satellite and uh, internet network devices, because they're analog. Analog means they don't have to care. It's about how you send the information to them. They don't have to process it through some really ruddy ass old CPU that is not very fast. Analog's one of the best things. It means that you can hack it and nobody can tell you that you're not using it or to not use it, because you can absolutely use it. It's analog. There's no defense whatsoever to it. There's no, oh, I have to mainframes. There's none of that. It's just send it and then you can receive it really well and fast. Now, as for the geostationary and others, surprise, surprise, Fokerinos, this is sold on the dark web. Those code, passwords, and source codes are all sold. You want to upgrade it? Well, they did start doing that. They started overclocking things. They started changing kernel binary on the CPU systems. They started parallelizing multiple workload types, turning things into more analogistic for more for the binary kernel processing for these CPUs into something that would more evenly distribute load for input output. Effectively, it does it faster because it's really only going to receive these things anyways. However, the antenna works, the receiver, right, and all that works for actually quite a few different signals. And if you know anything about light, light can have a longer, shorter, and a middling frequency that collapses, and that's how they make attosecond laser pulses. Shockingly, same fucking thing for satellite wavelengths. They have very high nano and pico wavelength pulses of insanely high dB ranges that have very, very large data bandwidths. Those are the current satellite hacking champions right now. If you want to know anything about that community, you will need to know about the competition that is going on for how many things, and they basically look at me like, did you really just destroy all of our holy fuck? Like, look at his internet packet thing. Like, you're not there hacking him. No, you are. Is this how you run your up? Oh my god. That's a way better way of fucking doing that. Meanwhile, me, here's data processing and network processing. It's an AI chip like the Xbox. Run it like this for a system series parallel. Store certain things in your cache over a given distance of the chip designs. Like I talk about in my CPU design processes and more. Clearly, I know what I'm talking about. That also means you need fewer antennas with multiple different radio wave types that will collapse and actually help their phasing in speed out at a distance for a lot less power, a lot less very expensive freaking phaser arrays. Because it's like effectively it's a bunch of antennas that are just crisscross. I mean that, but like now you don't even need that. You need like a couple of them that are pointed the right way and then pulse the right way, and effectively do that more or less timed appropriately at that point to collapse to be that radio wave frequency or whatever frequency, and to have those, bits and binary line up, which effectively is a call to and call back to know the back and forth if it's receiving it properly, and then that's all you need to do in terms of as you rotate with the Earth, you have to calculate for that. There's the atmosphere, a little bit of that, but not much, and geostationary means it pretty much stays the same distance. So, like, you don't need to do nearly as much on that. But it means you don't need a large amount of power. And so, effectively, if you think people can't hack that, it's been hacked for a long time. Military satellites, especially the ones that they zoom in enhance on people, have been hacked for a long time. Not just, oh, I can listen to you on your phone and more. Because, well, nobody's really going to know. And it's like, well, the information eventually got out there to such a degree that there's a huge hacker community. Even if it's like illegal, yeah, but it's like, what are you going to do? I'm going to go over here now. And I'll just scrub the information in data logs that I ever did it. Am I? Yeah, you are a bit of a joke. Because, like, I can absolutely worm that. I can absolutely, like, Trojan that. I can do all of that. There's nothing saying that I can't do that. Which is one of the reasons that a lot of the government does not like to talk about this. It's a embarrassing part on them. Like, community, like just internet in general, or communication devices in general, are fucking stuck up there. So, like, once it's up there, it's a literal, like, well, how long until it's taken over by people? Yeah, it's literally let them do it. Just fucking let them do it. Just, just let them do it. Yeah. Like, they'll just Just fucking go away. You know what that is. Like, we can't do anything. You know. Like, at least we get our communications. Meanwhile, there's a huge community that listen to many, many people. Why do you think that didn't go very far on my YouTube? But I talked about it back in like 2010, and in reality, I kind of talked about it in the 90s. I was like, what? They could do what? It's like we have to deorbit all of our satellites. This is a fucking multi-billion-dollar satellite. Are you fucking for real? Meanwhile, Elon Musk is all like, no, no, we just had an outage. The hackers demanded something from him, I'm betting you. Like, for real, there's no way they didn't. But, that's been known about. Like, no, how would you know that? Yeah, how would I know that? Like, one of the worst kept secrets ever. Like, insanely, right? So there's that. And pretty much all countries just wait for another country to put up a satellite. And like America and others are like, no, we're really big and powerful. Look how many satellites we have. But in reality, everybody uses their satellites. Like every country that can use their satellite uses their satellites. Russia, all of them. Everybody knows what's going on. Same thing with like any online ISP backdoors and more. It's been very easy to get into anything for a really long time. There is effectively no real privacy there, and I've said that for a really long time. But the reason why I want to talk about it is because, like, here's a way to get terabytes a second through your satellite arrays with no trouble. That costs next to nothing to do. It does take programming, of course, and it doesn't take much electricity at all to make it happen. And you are globally connected everywhere. But that's another reason why I talk about there is not a single fucking place you can hide on the planet. Literally, it doesn't matter if you decide to get rid of your cell phone or not be on your computer. You can be watched. That's why I talk out loud while I am not recording and I know that they're listening. If you think I'm weird, you ain't seen nothing. Because I'm a lot weirder than you think. I'm a lot more knowledgeable. I'm a lot more intelligent than you probably want to assume. But that's just upgrading old technology. Because it's like this is internet packets, the same, but way faster, way higher throughput, way higher bandwidth. And then you have the ability to compress it, which essentially means as long as on the other side you know how to break it out, it's encrypted, which is what a lot of people do. Because that means you can push a lot more and you have less delay. And so you can have many more. And because everybody can kind of always receive what everything else is that's being sent anywhere, as long as they're connected, then as long as you're good enough at your encryption for your compression encryption types, then you have a degree of a day or two before they'll figure it out. Sometimes a couple of weeks. But that's why I'm like, no, your phone and your computer are always being something that's listened in on. I just happen to be that weird special person that a lot of people tend to watch because I talk out loud. Like I'm doing a secret underground thing, but in reality I'm not. I'm just an abused, taken advantage of person. So there's that. Anyways, that's how to upgrade your satellite technology. You're probably stupid if you don't know how to do that. Most people most likely won't look at it just because it's a really, really open secret. It's so insane. It's like, really? Are you sure? Everybody can use these. Like, literally everyone. Like, I don't need an onion network. Like, you'll protect your own interests to not have it such that you had everybody know that I used your satellite. You'll make it top secret so I got away with it. That's a real thing. Yeah, but here's free hundreds of gigabytes a second for millions of people. It just takes uh, the right kit. Now, that's only because what we now know when it comes down to laser, phasing, and interference profiles. That's literally what that is. So, because of how we send it, because of how we allow for it to collapse, and we just need to make sure we calculate for a given spin where we are on the planet, the curvature, as it'll go through our atmosphere, and that's more directed. We essentially have the ability to uh, incredibly increase our outright bandwidth. So, um, the only reason I'm telling you is because it's like, well, they hit a peak cap on the hacking forum that I'm aware of for satellite hacking, and I'm like, well, the only real way for you to do this is to get into interference and pulsing and multiple radio wave signaling profiles while calculating with an antenna and phaser array that's properly set up and tuned for the rotation of the Earth and its tilt and axis in its given season. If you want to go faster, you're going to have to actually get into real physics instead of just hacking and better programming. You have it as good as you probably could get. So here's your next step. Get into actual physics, get into actual engineering. Have fun. Also understand I'm opening up a door for you that effectively means that you could have, like I said, millions of people push information around at hundreds of megabytes a second. Yeah, which is cool, but at the same time, I know what you're really going to use it for. So you're all going to spy on a whole bunch of shit. Have fun. I don't really care that much about that. Go look at other people. Stop fucking around with me. Seriously, I fucking, like, genuinely don't like you. A lot of you are very mean people that have ruined my life. And you harass me online and you just try and make it seem like I'm a paranoid motherfucker and gaslight me. Because it's easy to make a bunch of people that genuinely don't know jack shit and are more than willing to try and gaslight a single person into oblivion instead of tell the truth about fucking massive problems in their infrastructures. So, there you go. That's a basic way to very significantly angle and increase uh, your uh, bandwidth and outright caps and all that, but also it means that they can excite your neurons from afar, and because you have a cell phone and more, that changes Wi-Fi signaling from router to phone to others, and can be used as a tuning fork signal from afar to see what the brain is doing and thinking as a result. And they can eventually get pretty good at doing that with light and regular gigahertz radiation waves. There are those that already do that. There are hackers that are getting further and further along in it. Have fun. Like and subscribe and all that. Have a good one. Please share. Actually, go look at my other satellite hacking video, please. There are no views on it, and I'm sad. You have no idea. It was like a lot to work up to the point of actually like recording that and making it like go out. And I waited for a while to make sure I got other videos out, which effectively delayed, you know, that, but it also meant that a lot of people like were ready and prepared to try and bullshit their way through this, but they got nowhere. So that's why I'm going back to mostly just recording myself audioly. So please watch that. I did a lot of work on a lot of those things, and not a lot of people watched much of any of it. All right, bye.